And so really the idea here is to involve you guys to give me the accountability partner that I would have if I was going to the gym or if I was checking in with every week to make sure I'm on track. Plus, there is the public shame aspect of this that I think will motivate me greatly.
What happened to MJR's weight loss? He still looks the same as he did when he made that video, now more than 1 year ago. I'd say that's a generous comment from the audience. Looking at this photograph here, I'd estimate he's well over 280 pounds. Not only has his diet failed him, but he has in fact been gaining weight. A well-intentioned member of the audience says, in his most recent video, he looks bigger than ever. As someone who's lost over 80 pounds in the past 2 years, I know it's not easy. That being said, I feel relying on other people to hold you accountable for your success is an absolute recipe for disaster. It may sound like a good idea, but usually it just adds a bunch of unnecessary pressure. Well, I've got good news and I've got bad news. He made that promise to upload a weekly update as to how much weight he lost and how much exercise he was doing. The last time he even attempted to hold himself to that standard was July 20th, 2021. So whether that was a good idea or a bad one, he gave up on it. And perhaps he gave up on himself. That's a topic for a video.
Now you might remember that last August I made a video where I was talking about how I was fat. And I was really excited to start losing some weight. I was going to use the Ring Fit Adventure on the Switch. I was going to be riding my bike, and I was going to be using the Apple Watch to track my motions and my workouts and things like that. And I was pumped to do it. And as you can see, it didn't go quite as planned. Man, yeah, I kind of let myself go a little bit, but over the last couple months, I've made a conscious decision to try to lose some weight. Now, what's funny is that I have spent my entire adult life sitting in front of a computer, whether it's support or help desk or answering emails, troubleshooting things, editing audio, editing video. When you do that, basically the hours slip by and then pretty soon you are just a zombie sitting at your desk. And so yeah, I've got a lot of excuses, but the truth is that I really need to lose some weight. And so I've been thinking about it for a couple weeks now, and I need to make a change. And I'm reaching out to you guys because I think I've got an interesting idea because, you know, listen, it's all my fault. You know, I'm just lacking the motivation and the inspiration to do it. And I feel like I've let a lot of you down. A lot of you have asked about it, brought it up in the comments, and I've let myself down, you know, most importantly. So if you go to metaljesusrocks.com, you will see the top post in the blog section right there is going to be sharing my current weight as well as how I'm doing with the fitness app on my watch and my phone. Just how much I'm standing, how much I'm moving, and how much I'm working out. And I'm going to publish that once a week on my website starting today.
It's really easy to trick yourself into thinking that because something is normal, it's easy. And that because something is normal, because it's commonly done by millions of people in society around you, that at any time you can flip a switch and you can join the pack and you can have all the benefits of being one of those normal people. Reciprocal with this. It's so easy to tell yourself that just because you do something unusual, just because you do something exceptional, that it's therefore special, that it's what makes you special, that it's part of your identity that makes you different from, and frankly, better than other people. It's completely obvious that if Jesus wants to lose weight, he has to quit playing video games. If he quits, even just for 1 year, if he quits playing video games, if he made a YouTube video announcing that he's not going to press a single button on a single controller until he has lost 60 pounds, who is he? When he looks in the mirror, who is he now that he is no longer the world's greatest video game collector, video game reviewer, video game historian? When he takes a step away from the mirror and he opens up his phone to send text messages back and forth to other people, who is he in relation to his friends? What do they know him as? Why do they know him? Why do they respect him? What do they like about him? What do they talk to him about? Video games. It's all video games. Video games aren't just something that he plays. It's not just something that he does. Right? It's become part of who he is. And clearly, it's a huge part of the way in which he feels that he is special, that he's different from other people. Going to the gym and doing push-ups, oh, that's normal. Anybody can do that. You see how easy it is to convince yourself that therefore it would be easy for you, that it would be easy for you to develop those virtues, to develop that self-discipline, that experience. And then you find out that it's not easy, that all those people you've been kind of dismissing and denigrating and looking down on for doing something normal, mainstream, common, something anyone could do, millions of people could do. Actually, if you stop and think about how many hours they put into fitness over how many years. And I'm not talking about Olympic athletes here. I'm talking about the average middle-aged man who just cares about his health, who just stays in shape. The number of hours he's put into learning about diet and exercise and then living with that discipline. The number of hours per week, week after week. All that preparation. That's what makes it easy for him now to go to the gym and do the push-ups. And the absence of that, that's what makes it so hard. That's what makes it impossible for you, Jesus. You're dealing with the deficit created in your life by the hundreds of hours, by the thousands of hours that you spent instead playing video games. And I see this same pattern play out again and again with these young men who call themselves incels. But without exception, what they are video game addicts. They're video game addicts who felt that having a girlfriend or having a wife was normal. That was something everyone was entitled to. That was something easy, right? Getting to level 99 in RuneScape. That was what made them special. Spending all these hours playing video games, spending all these hours watching Japanese cartoons, anime, or whatever. Oh, this is their hobby. This is their passion. This is what makes them special. And it's rare, but once in a while you get an incel who was actually highly motivated to go into the sciences, get a PhD in chemistry or something, right? And they felt like, oh, now that they're accomplished this way, like maybe it's not something as laughable as level 99 in RuneScape. Now that they have a PhD in chemistry, now they're entitled to having a girlfriend. They're entitled to having a wife, and they're embittered that they don't get these things they feel entitled to, right? Oh, yeah, that's normal. That's common. Therefore, it's easy. You think it's easy for other people, and you think it should be easy for you, but you're wrong. And you're wrong in the same way. Doing 200 push-ups for me today is easy because I've done it thousands of times before, because of all the hours I've put in at the gym over decades before. Therefore, it's easy for me now. And therefore, even if I'm injured, even if I have a car accident and I have to recover, right, getting back into doing 200 push-ups a day. Oh, yeah, it's easy for me. Sharing my life with a woman, doing the dishes together, talking to her about all the frustrations and disappointments in her life, really sharing my life with a woman in a tiny apartment like this, all right? We're not talking about the manual skill of washing dishes, all right? Man and woman living together in that way, okay? It's a skill. And it's a skill I built up over years of suffering. Suffering and sorrow that you pour into one relationship after another. And yeah, in a sense, you build up that relationship, right? But you're building up yourself, even if it's just your capacity to listen, it's your capacity to feel, it's your capacity to cooperate in this way. And there's a lot of tears, there's a lot of screaming, a lot of weeping, right? So all this stuff that goes into it. It's like, the sorrow and suffering that goes into building up your physical fitness. Even if you're not an athlete, even if you never went to the Olympics, right? Which goes unseen and unappreciated by someone like Jesus. In the same way, right? It's only easy, it's only effortless for so-called normal people to have so-called normal relationships because of the extraordinary preparation they have, because of the extraordinary suffering and sorrow they've already been through. Now, most perniciously of all, I think, people feel entitled to be parents. People feel entitled to be good parents. They feel that they ought to be respected and admired by their own children as good parents without ever putting in really any thought as to what it's going to take to be a good parent, without putting in any kind of preparation. And this may not be the video game addict stereotype, and it may not be the PhD in chemistry stereotype, although I've met a lot of bad parents who fall into that category. I really have. You can meet a beautiful young woman, and all she ever did was put her effort into being a beautiful young woman. She put all her time into her hair and her nails and her makeup. Let's just say she even worked as an esthetician. She worked in a beauty salon for the sake of it. And how to wear high heels and how to walk in high heels, all those skills that I recognize, that's a certain kind of skill set. And then she thinks one day she can become a mother, and she's going to be a good mother, and she's going to be a great mother, and she's going to be loved and adored by her husband, by her parents and grandparents, by her children and grandchildren, that there's going to be all this admiration and adoration directed her way. And she finds out too late that in the same way that Jesus here lacks the skills, the attitude, the knowledge he needs, frankly, just to save his own life, that she has none of the preparation she needs to be a parent. And just because it's normal, just because it's common for people to be parents, doesn't mean it's going to be easy for you. It's going to be hard for you because of all the thousands of hours you put into playing video games instead of becoming a person of substance. And if it's not video games, maybe for this beautiful young woman, all the thousands of hours you put into hanging out in a nightclub, doing hair and nails and makeup, all the thousands of hours you wasted making yourself into a shallow, brittle person instead of someone who's really substantive, who's really profound, and who's really robust in dealing with the challenges of being a parent. And I've got to tell you something. It's not only the child that breaks down weeping in that intimate context under those pressures. Parenting is hard. What people think is normal is hard. It takes extraordinary sacrifice, extraordinary self-discipline, extraordinary preparation. And it's the people who've been through that who then have the luxury of laughing about it, of taking it utterly for granted.
Hi, my name is Dan. I'm a video gaming addict.
One of the biggest points of anxiety for me over the last 10 to 15 years has been that I've never had a girlfriend and I've never really had many friends. But I feel like coming from a dual parent alcoholic household, I had no real connection to my parents. You couldn't really talk to them. Every day they come home from work, and it was just go and get the Captain Morgan rum and get the Diet Coke and mix them together and drink them till you're drunk every single day. And when I go to school, it was like, a lot of people were on drugs, and even, I remember my best friend in grade school, he told me he was using meth, and this was in grade school. I turned towards video games because I saw these behaviors modeled around me that were destructive, and I looked at video games as being a lesser evil than drugs, alcohol, and just going around having sex with random people. I grew up around kind of crazy hood environment and just alcohol, drugs, all that type of stuff, and I never wanted to be a part of it. And I avoided it, but I feel like as a result, I never had those kind of foundational experiences, socializing with other people, to be able to build upon it, to have relationships, to have friends.
I suffered to some extent from anxiety, and maybe in some way it was my safe space from the chaos of my life in these times. It was constant, always available, and gave me a sense of accomplishment. I climbed through the ranks and achieved max combat and had every single piece of gear I could want. But it wasn't enough. I sought the next thing. My new goal was to achieve 99 everything and get the prestigious max cape.
The first time I seriously quit playing video games was in 2016. I saw that it was really dragging me down and that I was getting older and starting to fall behind in some areas of my life. So after setting a goal in the video game that I played at the time of getting a max cape, then achieving it, I then quit.
I wound up dropping out of college 4 times and blowing like 15 grand or so in the process, of my own money. I paid it off now, but it was just a waste of money.
Life improved a lot for me in the next few months. I re-enrolled in a local community college after dropping out from a different college a few years before. I was making good money. All my bills were paid. I was having money in the bank. I felt like I was on top of the world. Because things improved so much, I thought that it was safe to go back to video games. I thought that I was cured of my video game addiction. Big mistake. I started playing about 10 to 12 hours a day. I bounced around between a few Steam games and Minecraft, found my way back to RuneScape, and then I started playing 16 hours a day.
I wound up dropping out of college in 1 semester because it wasn't for me, and because my video game addiction made it hard to do anything but play video games. Since I dropped out and didn't have school anymore, I was able to live at my grandparents' and play video games all day. So I did. During this time, which continues to this day, I played up to 16 hours a day. Everything from RuneScape, Minecraft, GTA 5, 7 Days to Die, Terraria, and a host of other small games.
I started neglecting my health again, and my room was a constant mess of stuff on the floor. You needed 99 agility just to make it from the door to the bed in this room. My income went way down. I enjoy work a commission job, and I was making 1/5 of what I was making previously.
I rarely took showers and oftentimes didn't brush my teeth. I pretty much drank 5 Cokes a day, ate breakfast, and ate junk the rest of the day playing RuneScape. Today I woke up at 4 p.m. and I played RuneScape for 10 hours so far, maybe 11 at this point. I'm trying to be honest with where I'm at right now, and I think it accurately represents where I'm at. And all that being said, I want this channel to document me improving my life and beating my video game addiction.
I quit playing video games about 100 days ago. I probably made my first video probably 130 days ago or so, where I kind of showed that I was a RuneScape video gaming addict, and I was at the time actively playing. Like I said, I haven't played in 100 days now.
I set a date several months out when I would quit cold turkey. and followed through with it. And here I am 4 months later, video game free.
I recently wound up relapsing with my video gaming addiction. Long story short, a friend of mine recently got killed by a drunk driver who was going the wrong way down the road.
Get rid of your counsels. Get rid of anything that's going to make you relapse. And a lot of people will associate like, oh, but it costs money. I paid money for this. Your $300 Xbox is... you run the risk of your $300 Xbox costing you $30,000 over the course of a year in lost wages, lost experiences. Which one's worse? Smashing a $300 Xbox or losing $30,000 in lost wages and lost experiences in the next year's time? There's this sunk cost fallacy where you have so much time invested into it, so you think it's worth something. But at the other side of the coin, if you continue to keep it, it's just going to continually drag you down.
To me, video games are a disease of complacency. I know that if I keep the video games in my life, it's going to be a struggle to move forward. I see this with a lot of young men, a lot of those who have gone before me, and a lot of those who are coming after me. They're playing all these video games, and they're not quite doing their schoolwork the way they should. They're not quite as ambitious as they probably could be, and it accumulates over time, and the rest of their life kind of suffers from it.
I also want to make a disclaimer that just because you have not played as much as me doesn't mean you're not a video gaming addict. In the same way that a 2-pack-a-day smoker doesn't think he's an addict because he knows a 3-pack-a-day smoker. Or you could substitute that with alcohol, drugs, whatever. Gambling, whatever.
Once you've formed an addiction to video games, at least in my experience, it's nearly impossible to stop. You may think you're good, you may think you got your life back on track, and you may think you can self-regulate. I did, but I couldn't, and I realize that now. I thought I was cured of my video gaming addiction. I wasn't, and maybe I never will be.
ADHD and anxiety, oftentimes I wonder how these are interlinked. I don't know which one came first. I think a lot of my anxiety and ADHD or at least my anxiety, kind of came from my parents and my upbringing. Grew up in an addict household, so that always gave me a lot of anxiety growing up because you never know what's going to happen. I got a lot of problems with my family are alcoholics, and pretty severely so. And my father's got a number of DUIs, and I always worry about all the stuff that goes along with that and the drama. Romantic, I'm not even going to worry too much about that at the moment. I've got to get myself right before I can go back to being in a relationship.
I do not want to be like my parents. I do not want to be complacent in life, and I want to live up to my full potential. And I'm willing to sacrifice things to be able to do that. I don't want to be 40, 50 years old and think, man, I could have done this, I could have done that, but I just did this impulsive stuff like video games and alcohol. And for a lot of people, it's insidious in the fact that it's a multiple of these things, and it's never quite bad enough to make the change. I've watched my parents drinking over all these years now, and I see the slow decline, the slow dimming of, once bright people.
I made big changes to quit video games and stay off. It made me very uncomfortable making these YouTube videos in the past, and still, at the beginning, makes me very uncomfortable. It's embarrassing to make YouTube videos with your face and then talking about your problems. But guess what? If I didn't do it, I'd probably still be playing video games.